Well, this looks like being a tremendous day as far as the racing is concerned. It's been hot and humid, and the pace has been likewise. We've had a breakaway with Taffy and Payner setting a very fast pace right the way since the event got underway on what is going to be the longest stage of the tour, 257 kilometres from Loria to Foggia, stage 6 of the Giro d'Italia. You see Mercatone Uno here are ploughing along at a great rate of knots, because just behind, something like a minute 20 seconds back, is the main peloton, which includes Jalabert. So look at these lads here in the blue and the yellow, and there's Pantani. This is amazing. Normally you'd expect Pantani in the mountains to do his stuff, but now he's got his team round about him, and they're ripping the legs off Jalabert. And in the Ciclamino jersey, just going off our screen, in fact, Jalabert's made it. He's got up there to that group. Well, the last news we had, he was actually just off the back of that group. Now he's made it, and they're really ripping along here. This race has suddenly come alive on what is going to be one of the flattest days of the race. There's no big mountain climbs today, just one third category climb after 29 kilometres. One of the Inter Giro, sorry about the Giro, but I get it wrong, but Inter Giro it is that they've been through already. When at the Inter Giro, Taffy was first, Payner was over there in second spot, Strazza rocketing across in third to keep his blue jersey safe. But it looks now that the groups that were splitting on the road have now come back together. We had the information earlier on that the gap was over 1 minute, but it looks like Jalabert now has forced him way up there. So it's a tremendous race you've got in screen. There, 45 seconds, 1:20. The thing is all over the place. What a day. Normally on these stages, we the commentators go, oh dear, what do we do today? Because they're just going to roll along and wait for the sprint finish. But somehow the whole thing has erupted, and really we have to thank Taffy and Payner for that, because those are the two who went away after the, just over 100 kilometres of racing today, and they've really sorted the whole thing out. We're way ahead of schedule, and the riders are going at a great rate of knots. So this could be an almost turn up for the books. Normally expect, and there's Taffy in the centre, now being absorbed by the bunch in the green, white and red colours. He was the one who started all with Payner, and every man for himself today. It's sort of man the lifeboats time and hang on to your hats, because they've all decided to race, and this is tremendous, because there we're going. You see the arrows into Foggia on this stage of the tour, stage 6. Brilliant stuff, great racing. 32 kilometres to go. My goodness, it'll all be over and done with before you've had a chance to start your recorders, because normally we don't come on air till 3:30 Central European time, 2:30 back in Great Britain, those who are watching on British Eurosport. I've got stacks of emails and faxes and things have been flying through, which I would try and reply to normally, but today, the race like it is, we must concentrate on the race. I'll try and pick up some of the information which some of you have been asking for as we go on, but I think you agree with me that this is going to be one humdinger of a day. Well, Jalabert getting a tow from the Mercatone Uno team. You can see the speed, can't you? They're going here. This is 32 kilometres to go towards the end, or 30 kilometres now. We should be there in about the next 40 minutes maximum, which would mean they're going to finish the stage at probably just around about 3:10 Central European time. And this is way up on the schedule, which just shows you that today, despite the fact it's a long stage, they all decided to get stuck in and give it some stick. We're not in fact due to finish until the fastest time at 40 kilometres per hour would be 22.5. So the average speed is way up above that now. Well, the temperature this morning ranged between 30 and got up to 32 degrees, very hot and humid. And when they come in towards the finish, it's dead flat, dead straight. The last 15 kilometres, it's virtually like you see here on your screen. And then we come into that last kilometre of racing, a bit of a flick coming through, a sharp left with the just outside the, just inside the kilometre. Two right curves as well, and down the Corsa Roma, where the big crowd is waiting to see will Mr. Cipollini make it in the sprint. Well, Mercatone Uno have decided today to rip a few legs off. This is unbelievable how they're going along on the run in towards Foggia today. nice part of the world to be. Actually, this is a sort of forgotten part of the world we're going through, because not many of the tourists come down here and take on board the delightful scenery. It's way over. We're moving across. If you've got your map of Italy in front of you and you try to see where we've gone along the course today, if you just look down on your map of Italy we come up through the toe, we've gone up to Lauria, Montessori, and we're going across, which I suppose if you've got a pair of shoes on, it's just above the shoelaces, going up towards just above the ankle. Foggia, you'll see, is going towards the coast. We're going on tomorrow towards Lanciano, and we're getting very close as we move on up towards Ancona, where in fact there's a lot of American fighter planes and the big Hercules aircraft are all there at the base, because not far across the water is the problems that are going on in Yugoslavia and Kosovo. So we're heading up into the war zone as we go on towards Ancona in a couple of days' time. But with look on the map, then you'll find us coming up just above the shoelaces, heading up towards above the hill to Foggia. Pantani's team doing a tremendous job just to keep the man in contention, and Jalabert's got to him sitting on the wheels. And just give you a quick rundown on the general classification so that you have some idea of what's happened, because I understand back in Great Britain you don't always get the information. You may get sparse things in some of the national newspapers, but the position at the moment going along, as at this morning, was Laurent Jalabert after yesterday's stage, the overall race leader in the pink jersey, and that's the man Taffy, who started all having a bit of a smile. He really ripped the legs off this morning. Well, Taffy, no great threat overall in general classification. He was amongst that group that came in yesterday some 17 minutes down on GC, so no wonder he's gone off today to try and have a bit of a dig. They put up there that he's won the Tour of Lombardy, but of course British followers of the sport will much more like to recognise his tremendous performance when he won the Paris-Roubaix this year, and it couldn't have gone to a nicer chap. So Taffy it was that ripped the legs off, cause enormous confusion. Jalabert is going into this stage with a lead of 7 seconds over Danilo Di Luca, who's the past winner of the Baby Giro, and in third spot Davide Rabilen, who's at 14 seconds for the Polte team. In fourth spot on general classification is Salvadelli, my tip by the way for a place in the top three by the time we get to Milan. He's 16 seconds down. Pantani is fifth, sixth Frigio, seventh Gotti, eighth Simoni, all at 19 seconds. Ninth overall, Kamazin at 26 seconds. In 10th spot, Axelsen, Noah's 11th, and Zania 13th, Jimenez 14th. Those are the top riders on the general classification, with Jalabert in pink. Certain law in three letters, by the way, that says when we go to an ad break, something happens, and I suspect we're going to see a repeat of a little crash that's just happened. One of the psycho riders came down a big box of tricks. It wasn't Cipollini, but it's somebody on a green bicycle, and he's now got another bike, a white one. It's Salvadelli. Oh my goodness, that's dangerous. Salvadelli to be brought down. This is a man on general classification who started out fourth this morning at 16 seconds. He got brought down. You see he's working his way through the vehicle, and his team had not gone back for him yet a while. Well, I've got him down for a place in the top three in the Tour of Italy this year, but he was very quick up there. See, look, two of his teammates have come back, but he made a very quick recovery. He went down, he changed his bike, and the other rider that came down was Leone, and they just sort of hooked handlebars or something. Down they went. Leone, when he went to get his bike, found he couldn't ride it. His team car was a long time coming up to help him, so Leone is now still chasing right there from the back. Leone is a very good sprinter, but he's now marooned way off the pace behind. So just anybody's in that group there in the Ciclamino jersey. Bleilemans, who is really off the pace after yesterday's ride. He finished 123rd yesterday, way back with that lot that came in nearly 17 minutes down. But he still has the Ciclamino jersey as a leader on the points competition. The Lampre-Daikin team working very hard here for Oscar Kamazin, who is 26 seconds down over on general classification. He drifted off a bit yesterday. He lost some 16 seconds on the climb, but he wasn't too bothered. He said there were peanuts afterwards. Interesting how when you speak to and get information from the foreign riders, how they use very much anglicised terms, and as far as he was concerned, those few seconds, there's Oscar Kamazin in the rainbow jersey with his Lampre-Daikin team tracking along here. He said yesterday his 16 seconds was peanuts. Well, he's gone up there today to try and do more than peanuts. I think he's got a dose of prunes the way he's going, because he's threatened this lot and really going like there's something urgent to attend to at the end of the stage. We've had a very, very quick stage indeed today. Those of you who set your tape recorders back at home and want to come and watch it later on when you get in, will probably find you've got something coming up after the stage today which you didn't expect, but providing you actually started it at 3:30 Central European time, 2:30 UK time, you'll have got all the action with these two groups of riders split completely, and the gap, the last time check we had, was 2 minutes back to the chasers. Well, considering the fact that we've got in the last week some monumental climbs, this is amazing to see on a flat stage. They're prepared, some of these riders, to rip the legs off the rest of the chaps in maroon in that back group behind them. Well, let's see. Bladovans is here, good sprinter. Cipollini could be a good sprinter. Well, we don't know who's going to get the stage victory, but certainly Jalabert will have to watch out, because there are 12 seconds, then 8 and 4 seconds bonus for the riders when they come across the line at the end of it all. So the result on the pink jersey could still be up there for grabs. Here they go. Oops, come this way, young man. This is what happens when somebody punctures. They have to go back and they have to work their way through the team vehicles and get back in the pack. It's almost like dodgems on two wheels, I suppose, the way in which you have to have a great feeling for the handling of the bike. The team cars, they look in the mirrors, they watch the riders coming through, and they get back and look at the speed. They're all on the top ring, by the 53 ring, maybe by 11. With the following wind we've had today, only 5 kilometres left. This is a phenomenally fast stage on the way in towards the finish today. Just 5Ks to go. Well, tomorrow I'll have to come back to all the emails and faxes and things which have been landing at my hotel since we started to cover the Giro d'Italia. Thanks for all the information you sent to me, and I'm sorry to Mr. Garth E. Ashworth that I call the Inter-Giro not Inter-Giro, and that is a mental aberration. I do the best I can. I'm not fluent in Italian. My few 6 months playing basketball in the Italian basketball team many years ago when I was in the army didn't sort of put me in the right place. He's quite right. I call it the Giro d'Italia, but I call it the Inter-Giro, so that is wrong. Either one or the other. I'll get it right in future, sir, I hope. Sackcloth and ashes at the moment. 5 kilometres to go in this, the Giro d'Italia, with the Inter-Giro having been won today by Duffield. And there goes Bettini in the green jersey. This man leading on the King of the Mountains competition. He's trying to get himself a stage victory, but this must be foolhardy. He doesn't, I think, have the power in his legs. There's some other people come up to him now, and my thoughts are going with something like Taffy, who start to roll perhaps to stretch the thing. What a day. Yesterday we went up that big mountain, we saw one different sort of race, and today we got yet another one live on Eurosport. This is what bike racing is all about, and I'm sorry sometimes when we overrun into tennis or tennis overruns into us, we don't get exactly what you're going to see, but you're seeing it live, and that's the best way to have sport, as is happening on the screen. Bettini still ploughing away. Are they going to pull him back? It looks like they might just snaffle him up any moment. Determined to stay away. They're travelling at around about between 35, 37 miles an hour. They're really on the rivet. Whoops. And when we come in towards that finish, we've got just coming into that final kilometre. They turn sharp left, and then there are two sort of right-hand curves. The sharp left could be rather dangerous. Nice move by the Lampre-Dakin. Pulled him back, sat on him. That's locked the thing down and made sure they can. That's Piccoli. Perhaps they're trying to set it up for Serrada from Lampre-Dakin, a good sprinter. Looking back down through the string, certainly Pantani's gone out of trouble. They're moving through. The Lion King himself, Cipollini, is about 10 from the front. The Psycho Cannondale team working hard, and you can see even off the Russian champion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back to the front. The world champion is 3 back to the front, and Cipollini is about 10 back from the front, running on in toward the finish. I think that Polti could well be their top sprinter, looking for a chance to get it, but I think he might be swallowed up when the whole proverbial hits the fan, because Guidi, a good sprinter he might be, couldn't, I don't think, stay with the speed of Cipollini, who's following Blyleven's. Blyleven's has just gone on the front, and here, this is a superb teamwork which you get from the Psycho Candil team, and that's Petito, I think it is, leading out, and just behind him, again, you can see the riders from Lampre-Dakin in second spot, and just behind in third spot, Oscar Kamazin. Well, is Kamazin going to try and get himself a few seconds bonus here? That's going to be a surprising move, but he wouldn't rate himself, I think, as being an absolute out-and-out sprinter. More of the cavalry is coming up from behind. Lampre-Dakin beginning to get themselves up. Remember, their top sprinter, Sorada, rides in the colours, his national championship colours of the Czech Republic. So he won't be in the pink and blue, and I'm looking back to see where he's got to, and he doesn't seem to be up there near the front. So still Kamazin wandering on here into third spot. That's intriguing, because suddenly off goes the What a move by Lampre-Dakin. They set this one up, and this is going to be an absolute surprise turn-up for the books. They're coming towards 300 metres to go. But they're not going to get it. That could be Guidi coming in here from the Polti team. As he comes close to the line, is he going to get it? Oh, take the victory there from Vini Calderodo, I think, that went for that one. I'm going to wait for confirmation of that result. Well, the man who sprints for the Vini Calderodo team, taking that one, could be Zanetti, but we'll have to wait and see the confirmation of that particular sprint, taking him through there. Came from nowhere, he sat in the wheels all the way through. Looked good right at the end. Well, Lampre-Dakin thought they got it stitched. Kamazin coming through. Well, he thought he got it well and truly matched, didn't he? He thought, this is it, I've now got this one stuffed in my back pocket, I'm going to get this one. And it was Missaglia who's got a good turn of speed, good little climber too, but Missaglia getting closer and closer to the finish, looking over his shoulder. Well, he should have kept his head down and kept going, because I think disillusion suddenly hit him when he looked back and he suddenly realised they were coming. So Missaglia trying to get the stage victory for Lampre-Dakin, didn't quite make it, as look who came through just at the last minute. Well, so I think that Missaglia missed out then, as the victory went to, in fact, it was Weinsteins that got the victory. So Weinsteins, who's been a big threat in cycling so far this season, thundering across the line, and just into second spot behind him was the Polti rider, and then poor old Missaglia just didn't make it at the end of it. He dropped back into third spot. And I think it was Guidi that took second spot. I thought he was going to get it earlier on, but he was pipped at the post by Weinsteins, and we'll just wait for confirmation of that result for you. But my goodness, what a fast stage we had today. I don't think we're going to see any major change overall in general classification, and none of those chaps are in contention to pinch the few seconds off Laurent Jalabert. But at least half the field are going to look at the results tonight and discover they lost another couple of minutes. But Missaglia ploughing along here, and I rate this chap in the future. I think we're going to see more of him, more of Figueres, these young riders. They were in the under-23 Championship of the World a couple of years ago, when Italy had 1, 2, 3 and 4. Missaglia was one of those top 4 men that took it. And of course, way back on the Tour of Langkawi last year, how dominant he was in that race too. But no doubt about it, the victory then going to the man from the Vini Calderodo team, and that was superb victory, absolutely marvellous.
This week, Eurosport's extra...
Main part of the group still has to come into finish, but there is the result. Weinsteins taking it ahead of Guidi and Missaglia 1, 2 and 3. Missaglia tried manfully to get it, but got finally swept up on the line. And you see back behind Tossato, amazingly Bettini, the king of the mountains, finished up in 5th spot. Guidi coming through on the left-hand side, did what he could. Missaglia just dying 1,000 deaths just before he went to the line, but Weinsteins taking that one. That was his 7th victory of the season. The man who who took a couple of stage victories in Tirreno Adriatico, now showing his form in the Tour of Italy. Great success for this rider. Unfortunately, the Tirreno Adriatico, you may or may not know the story there, but he was in the leader's jersey when they went off course on one of the stages, and he lost his chance of keeping that jersey through to the finish. But he's come here into the Tour of Italy, the Giro d'Italia, with intentions of doing well, and he's just done that today on this stage into Foggia. In the background, this beautiful town, very much rebuilt. You're looking at some of the sites here. Much of the town you're looking at now, they're sort of low buildings, because they had an enormous earthquake here which almost flattened the thing completely, and not much of the old town is left. So there's the man who couldn't care less about whether it's old, new, or where it comes from. He's got the flowers, he's going to have the champagne, he's going to celebrate the moment of glory with the sun shining on him. We're still down in the south of Italy where the sun is shining gorgeously. I'm not quite sure what the weather's like up in Great Britain, but you can relish the sunshine, you can relish the enjoyment of this man now, saving the moment of his 7th victory of the season. I'm fascinated, by the way, how these riders are coming through from Latvia, from the Czech Republic, from Russia. Many of the people coming through from Poland. There's a lot of new talent coming from behind the Iron Curtain. We're going to surprise, I think, few of the established nations, the normal ones, the Italians, the French, the Germans, the Spanish. By the way, talking about the Spanish, a little bit of sort of news here while looking at the lovely old town of Foggia. There's been quite an argy-bargy going on. This book written by Willy Vogt on his 30 years in the sport and what's been going on in what we call the dopage or dope taking is really going to rip things to pieces. But amazingly enough, the Italian president of the organisation that puts on the Tour of Spain is saying it's a French problem. It doesn't exist in Spain. I wonder if he remembered in the mid-60s when I was on the Tour of Britain, the English milk race, when in fact 2 Spaniards were caught taking amphetamines and thrown off on the last day before we went into Blackpool, and Les West took over the leader's jersey. One British rider was also found to be taking amphetamines. That was something like over 30 years ago. So goodness knows how a statement can be made like that from Spain. But this thing's going to run and run and run. Not my job to get involved in it, but occasionally pop in little bits of information which I think you might be interested to know. But today, Mr. Clear here for Italy on the left-hand side, giving way to the Latvian, coming through Weinsteins with the Italian rider on the right-hand side. Guidi doing what he could, but he could only finish in 2nd spot. Very fast day in the saddle today, a very flat day, one we thought would be a bit boring, but not on your Nelly. Today it's been a tremendous day's racing. There in the background you can see Foggia. This is the 3rd city of Apulia, which Frederick II used as his capital, with his harem, his falcons and his Muslim sorcerers. He still rates Jalabert as a threat for a podium place when we get to Milan at the end of it all. Looking back at the slow motion, Guidi on the right-hand side here for Polti. Weinstein's coming through in the centre for Vini Cadaroli, and Mr. Glier on the left hand, who tried so manfully to try and get the stage victory, just was doomed to failure as he drifted away off the pace as the victory went to the rider there in the blue, the light blue, the dark blue. Gosh, there's pain and suffering. Intriguing to see Bettini behind there in the green jersey. King of the Mountains also getting stuck in when it comes to the sprint finishes, so the Mapei team aren't let anything go without a big fight. That just confirms the position on the general classification. It is exactly as we started out this morning, all the top. From Foggia to Lanciano. Well, Foggia has seen more than its fair share of problems in the past, the usual sudden plagues of earthquakes, and the French sacked the city in 1528. Allied bombers smashed the remains, and today we had another explosion before the start, because they had 3 teams taken on one side by CONI, that's the Olympic organisation from Italy, and tested the 3 teams, only selecting the Italians for the test for urine and for blood. The riders are pretty well fed up about what's been going on, because they've been tested not only by the CONI from the Olympic Committee from Italy, but also from the UCI during this race. The federations, each of the riders have had to subject themselves to tests as well, and so it's not surprising that some of them have been a bit disturbed. They said today they would in fact delay the start, and Pantani became the spokesman of the riders who were just feeling a bit aggrieved about being dragged out of bed and thrust again into yet another set of tests. Here's Marco Pantani. Well, our position is to find out if somebody's trying to push us to do things we don't want to do. We don't want to be under these threats. If this goes on, we'll have to go back home. We'll do what other sportsmen to do. That's to say, no, enough is enough, and we will then have to stand back. Well, the press are very interested in what these riders have to say. The key people there, Pantani together with Cipollini, and they also interviewed Gianluca Stanga, the Polti team manager, and asked him questions too about what the situation is. And the reply will coming up from Luigi Stanga, which says the riders have to be controlled twice according to the regulations of the UCI. And went on to say that they need not only those two controls in the UCI regulations, but also 4 more times because of the other controls. 1 monthly control for the Italian Cycling Federation. Well, the riders said it's okay since the early start this year. They've all agreed to be controlled before the 3 main tours by the blood tests. And I think that this is enough, and we can't stand any more. Well, the riders at least got underway on the stage. 153 kilometres, fairly flat, no mountains, so it could be down to the sprinters or maybe some early attackers to cause the trouble. That's the Riso Scotti rider Ongarato, and joining him in this, I think, abortive attempt to win the stage is Bianchi from the Riso Scotti team, Ongarato from Liquigas, and they're beginning to move now towards the left and turn in away from the sea and go back in toward our finish, and the main group can almost see them. Not going to take long, I think, before they get sucked back in again. A mixed bag of riders chasing them down, because I think what's happening now is it's going to be a chance for anybody to grab themselves a stage victory, because a long drag up towards the finish should suit the sprinters specialists like Cipollini, like Lylevans, and these chaps could well find themselves being sucked back in after a good effort to stay away, but I think it's not going to happen. There they are, the big bunch. Makes it all the more difficult when you've got a mixed bag of people chasing on behind you, because these 2 chaps in the front are now having their work cut out. They're taking in turns to catch them back. He's a tall fellow, isn't that Bianchi chap? I like this when they start to work. You get to sort of try and, it's like, I suppose not trying to win the lottery, but trying to perm out who's going to do the great ride. The yellow jerseys swarming around Jalabert. The Once jerseys roar around about Jalabert. They're letting the other chaps up in front just do the work. Jalabert's got to keep the pace up just to make sure that De Luca and Rebellin don't nip away and catch him on the hop. De Luca riding for the Cantina Tolla Alexia team, and the Polti rider David Rebellin. Salvadelli rides for the Psycho Candel team with 20 kilometres to go, and of course their main interest is to look after Cipollini today. In fact, Chippo, by the way, is saying that because Fagnini is going to leave his team next year and going off to the Telecom squad, whereas Lombardi is leaving the Telecom squad and maybe coming back to the Psycho team. Certainly there's a bit of a swap going on, Fagnini leaving, and Cipollini has been very appreciative of the help that Fagnini has given him, and he's feeling that the rest of the team, although you see him working hard here, he doesn't seem to have any great trust in them, and Cipollini is saying, right, if anyone wants to make me offer, I might well leave the Psycho Cannondale team, which I think a bit of disappointment to many people, because one thing I've liked about Cipollini, apart from his most unusual lifestyle, the way he goes, the way he rides a bike and the things he gets up to, is that riding for the Psycho Cannondale team, particularly with Cannondale, the American bicycle manufacturer, Cannondale have this typical American sort of marketing way that they pick up on all sorts of unusual ideas to promote the product and to get their brand name across. And so Cipollini, who's also a way-out character, has benefited by the sort of American marketing input. And I feel somehow for Cipollini ended up with a team that wasn't as well marketing orientated and deeply into publicity as the Cannondale people are. We might not see him being promoted in quite the same way, but that's next year. It's this year, but he's still riding for Psycho Cannondale. Can he get the victory?
I'm an engineer. By definition, that means I'm fat.
The yellow jerseys of Pantani, the yellow jerseys of the Once team for Jalabert begin to mass at the front. And there you can see Blaloman's moving up in the plum-coloured Ciclamino jersey on his green Corsella bicycle. There Guidi with the flowing semi-blonde locks, just putting his hand up to his face there. Lutzenberger going through up to front to look after Jalabert. The Once team piling on the pressure just to protect Jalabert, who doesn't want to get involved in any sort of crashing and comeuppances. Well, the pressure's still on for the Psycho team to try and set up for Cipollini to come through. The order we've had so far, on the first stage, Quaranta won that one, surprised other people. Since then he had a sore bum and he's had a few problems, and he's dropped out the frame since then. He took the pink jersey in the first stage. Stage 2 into Cattiana, Cipollini got that one, and then he took over the pink jersey off Quaranta. Leilemans took the stage into Messina, and not only take the stage, he took the pink jersey as well. He kept it on stage 4 into Terme Liguani when Jalabert won the stage, but Jalabert then romped through after Chepe Gonzalez won the stage into Monteserino to take over the pink jersey, and then Weinsteins won the stage yesterday. So we've had all these different stage victors. We've had the pink jersey changing soldiers, one jersey which has stayed consistent throughout. Bettini has been in the green jersey as King of the Mountains right since day one, and in the Ciclamino jersey, Blaloman has held that for the last 4 days too. He's there top right hand side your screen, and providing he stays pretty well close to the front, he should be able to protect that one today. So the big bunch together inside the final 10 kilometres. Once driving the front there. This is a danger ground, by the way. They're not going quite fast enough to string the thing out. This is where you can get a touch of wheels and down they come. That's why you'll find Pantani will be, yes, yeah, they're jumping around. This is the thing to get out the front, start stringing down a bit. The pace had just eased back a little bit. Don't think he'll last very long. Being handed down, that's Kodal from Lampre-Daikin. What, he finished about 9th in the Tour of Romandy recently. Another good up-and-coming rider, doing his job for the team. And that's not Kodal, this is this lad from the Mappe team, who just had the graphics put across him, and that was Forniciari, who was closing the gap down. In fact, he's now gone straight back into the pack. I think he just found he couldn't hold the pace, as the ever-present Psycho rider in the red and white coming through with the run for Vitalis Seguros. Don't quite know why they're working so hard, Vitalis Seguros, because they don't have much of a chance, I think, with anybody to get to this victory today. That, of course, is the usual commentator's foot-in-mouth job when the man from Vitalis Seguros wins the stage, but I'm more looking out for the Lampre-Daikin team. You can see now going up to try and pull this one back, and that's a Piccoli, but he's not going to do much to try and pull back the one rider just ahead of him, because there Basso from Riso Scotti Vinaville is hoping that the elastic will break and he'll go on to ride for it, but I don't think it's going to work out that way. back comes the marksman from the Psycho Cannondale in red. Then the yellow team swarming round for onto Deutsche Bank. Kamerzin's in there again. This man is amazing. The world champion. Every day we've seen him in towards the finish, in that top 10 somewhere. Kamerzin lying over on general classification at 26 seconds behind Laurent Jalabert. Yet again, another attempt here. This is the Ukrainian rider Dorma from Navigard again. He's the national champion, and he really has launched himself into space. And yet again, the work from Psycho Cannondale to pull him back. Kamerzin pulls over, looking, I think, again to try and set it up for Serrada or Misaglia. But I think Kamerzin's had enough of this. And that could be quite okay for Dorma for Navigard again. National champion. Ploughing away here, and the rest coming up then. 6Ks to go. Psycho Cannondale doing a wonderful job. Well, there was Cipollini shooting his mouth off, saying that he would lead the team if Fagnini went next year, and they didn't give him the sort of support he was looking for, and anybody got enough money to buy him. And he said he doesn't want much more than people like Zabel are getting. Be quite happy with that, Zabel Blademan. So here we go, Bettini. This is the man I thought might go for a finish today, but I think it's a bit early on for Bettini, the king of the mountains. But he's still prepared to persist with this one. This little drag up towards the finish can suit his powerful riding. Five Ks to go. He always seems to me to go just a bit too far out, Bettini. We saw him on the Liège-Bastogne-Liège launch himself out, but I think that was just an attempt to draw the fire so that Bartoli could have a more comfortable ride in. And so it is now. He's just eased up and gone back into that group. Again, the ever-present Psycho Cannondale rider. Keeping the speed. You see, what happens is that someone like Bettini just rocket off down the road, and although they get maybe 100 yards down, they can never get sufficiently far away to settle in before the bunch comes back up. You could surge down the road, but once you go to breathe back, whack, they come back at you again. Well, I don't think they're going to allow him to go too far down the road, De Grande. And again, Vitalis Seguros firing off down the road. I think that's Smetanine. Well, Smetanine's got quite a good turn of speed, and I would have thought he'd been more prepared to stay in the group rather than try and do something magnificent like he's doing now. And he's being hounded down yet again, and this time by Chan McRae, the rider from Mappe, the American rider, pegging this one back, because their interest really is for Figueres, number 83. I mention these numbers, by the way, because when you see on your screen, often you can see better than we can. You can often pick these numbers out and just pick out to see who's doing what. Smetany says, come on through to Chan McRae. Smetany is number 175. And they have now broken the elastic, so that could be good. Well, I don't quite know why the chase is coming on from the TVM Farm Freaks rider. This is Vries. Although they put a different name up there. Was it Van Kessel, 159 or 158? Couldn't pick up very well. Back again with Smetanine. The ever-present Mappe rider, Chan McRae. Well, I think he'd roll, but I don't think he'd roll too hard. It isn't his job to win the stage today, unless these two die 1,000 deaths. I think he's just got to coast along here and wait for the group to come back again to set it up for Figueres, because it's more like his sort of finish. And here they are, setting in together. That's Velotti at the back. Smetanine saying, come on, let's get stuck in. Chan McRae doing the work up in front, and the three are now beginning to move together. We're inside those final five. In fact, we must be around about 4 kilometres from the finish, and here comes the main pack. Remember, as I said to you before, that last 500 metres is a nasty little turn which could cause a few problems with the dampness, and it's 3 Ks to go. No sign of Jalabert there. Guidi moving forward, 144, could be a danger man today. But Vlademan's in the Ciclamino plum-coloured jersey also starts to move forward. No sign yet of Cipollini, who always likes to leave it a bit on the late side, but he might leave it a bit too late today. We'll have to wait and see. Riding in the red colours, Cipollini for the Psycho Cannondale team. See if we can watch him coming through. Where's 131 on the back? Well, Vini Calderona pushing Casagrande through, being followed by Holtman. Well, Weinstein's won the stage yesterday for the Vini Calderona team, and they're trying to get the second one on the trot, I wonder here. They need to split it up. They can't really, coming up then inside those final 2 kilometres, they need to have a little bit of gap breaking up. You can see by the speed at which they're progressing that the rest of the pack still holding the attack. Nobody can get more than 100 yards down the road. So this is exactly what the sprinters want, exactly what Blademans want, exactly what Cipollini wanted. And Blademans is back just behind the boys in blue. There he is in the Ciclamino jersey. Guidi's on his wheel. The red and yellow colours of Guidi from the Polti team has moved up. No sign at the moment of Cipollini, who's probably back. No, he can't use mobile phone because the UCI banned that. The long string at the front, Vini Calderona, Sidemek, trying to set it up for Weinsteins to get yet another victory. Got it yesterday. We've not had anybody win 2 stages so far in the Tour of Italy. Every day's been different. Quaranta day 1, Cipollini day 2, Blademans day 3, Jalabert day 4, Chepe Gonzalez day 5, Weinsteins on day 6. Day 7 it is. Who's going to get this one? This is the sharp left-hander. Then later on we've got the sharp... Oh, that's it! We know there'll be problems coming in here. Then they've also got the other one down the right-hander. In towards the finish. This is once they get to 500 metres, then we got a good drawn-out sprint. Blademans is nicely placed, but he's got on his wheel is the Polti rider Guidi, and hovering just behind him, the rider for the Lampre-Dakin team has moved into second spot behind. It could be Missaglia. Yes, Missaglia is starting to move through as well, and still then they're trying to set it up for Weinsteins to get this one. He's there. 168 is Weinsteins, second in line, just ahead of Blademans, who's tracked his wheel. On the sprint, coming in toward the finish, Blademans is going to get himself in a good position. He is there. And they swing round. This is the difficult one. Then down the straight, we've got some 500 metres of a good straight road ahead of them. Blademans in the Ciclamino jersey, picking up the lead out, but still then Weinstein's trying to go. Blademans comes off the wheel. Blademans looks good. Blademans is going hell for leather for the finish, and Blademans is going to do what nobody else has done. Won his second stage in the Tour this year. It's the first man to do 2, and it's Blademans in the points jersey. No sign of Cipollini, and it was Blademans that swarmed through. He had a beautiful lead out. He followed the right wheels. He took off at exactly the right moment, and Blademans gets his second victory in the Tour of Italy. He wears the points jersey as leader overall on the points competition, and that will help him on in that competition, because tomorrow we're not going to see this fellow anywhere near the finish with a big mountain top climb yet to come. Ivanov, his teammate there, congratulating him on that superb sprint finish. He was unstoppable, Blademans, and he's just shown from time to time. He's an amazing character. You don't see a lot of him in some parts of the season, and then suddenly he bursts upon the scene and comes through. We watched him not only win that stage into Messina on day 3, but we also saw him, if you watched our coverage through Rominger, get a stage there. That's his, 6th victory of the year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th victory of the year then for Blademans, coming through to get the stage today. And has also won stages in the Tour of Spain and the Tour de France. I remember that superb victory he had in Dunkirk. Well, he came through today, and no sign of Mr. Cipollini. Guidi then was probably just in 3rd spot behind. I think Weinsteins, was 2nd. We'll have to wait for confirmation of that one as the rainbow goes across the sky. You nipped in at the nick of time. We're now on the big climb of the day, the one which could really set the scene for the next week. This is the stage from Pescara to l'Aquila Gran Sasso d'Italia, stage 8 of the Tour of Italy, covering 253 kilometres today. You're looking at the main bunch here, who are chasing after 2 breakaway riders, whose lead at the moment is about 12 minutes on the main pack, and they still have about 44 kilometres to go on this long climb. These are 2 riders you've got on your screen now, Guarcioli and Piccoli in the pink and the blue, and the Guarcioli just behind him. My thanks for Mr. Toby Moody and Dennis Noyes for the motorcycling commentary. Those who have been watching live this afternoon, Saturday afternoon, good afternoon to you. I'm David Duffield. And sorry, Toby, it's not the tennis, it's cycling next turn. That's me now in full flight. And those who come from the Worcestershire part of the world would like to know, no doubt, Toby went to King's School, Worcester. I went to Worcester Royal Grammar School. And we're best of friends, even though at school we may have been arch enemies. As regards to motorcycling, what a great day we had so far. But as regards to cycling, anything can happen. You're going to watch today perhaps the big turnover for the pink jersey, although this morning Pantani was saying he still respected Jalabert and he thought he's going so well he may keep the pink jersey today. We saw Jalabert a bit further down the road involved in a little fracas, touch of wheels, and down he went, and he changed his bike, but he's got back in the main pack. He's wearing the pink jersey, and here you can see we're on the big climb up towards the finish. The conditions, by the way, are not very nice at all. I hope you brought your thermal underwear and your galoshes and your snowshoes, because there's been a lot of snow over the last 3 days. In fact, the road has been covered by snow. They had to get the snowplow out to clear the snow out of the way. It's now melted, thank goodness, but it's bitterly cold. This morning, starting out from Pescara, it was around about 16 degrees, started to rain, made it rather miserable for the riders who had to put their capes on, and that's why they let these two chaps go down the road, and they took off Coaccioli and Piccoli after 45 kilometres of racing. So an awful long time out there, and their lead hovering around about 12 minutes at the moment. It's been that for an awful long time. It came down to 10, went back to 11, up to 12. Because this bunch don't seem to be too bothered about them and feel they could reel them in. Well, we've got maybe another hour and a half of racing ahead of us, and they had to go some, I think, because Piccoli is no slouch when it comes to climbing mountains. That's a fellow in the pink and the blue at the front, because Piccoli has been twice King of the Mountains in the Tour of Italy. He won it in 95 when he took a stage in the Giro. He also won the King of the Mountains in 1996 as well. So they perhaps misunderstanding and misjudging his ability of that man to stay out there. But I think what Lampre have done, have sent him down the road so that the rest have to chase, which gives Oscar Camazin of the Lampre team a fairly easy ride on the stage today, because Camazin is from the Lampre Dakin team. He's the world champion, and he's looking for a shout to try and take over that pink jersey at some point. And Camazin and his team, I think they decided to send that man down there so that the Once team have to chase, because going into today's stage, the overall classification, Laurent Jalabert leading by 7 seconds from Dano De Luca. We're coming up now, as you can see on your screen, 30 kilometres to go from the finish, and that gap, well, the clock will start to run, and I just wonder as to whether they've left it a bit too late. And although there's no way that the rider in the pink and blue, I think, will stay out there enough to take over the pink jersey, nevertheless, it could be quite interesting at the end of it all, and that means that Jalabert has to chase hard. 7 seconds ahead of Dano De Luca this morning from the Cantina Tolla Alexia squad. Paolo Salvodelli, I got that right at once, so I keep putting the L in the wrong place because I suffer from, I suppose, some sort of dyslexia when it comes to certain names. It's Salvodelli in third spot at 16 seconds on general classification. Davide Rebellin from the Polti team is in fourth spot at 20 seconds this morning. Marco Pantani from Mercatone Uno Bianco was at 22 seconds. Dario Frigio of Psycho Cannondale also at 22 seconds. Ivan Gotti, the Polti rider who won this race in 1997, poised at 22 seconds. In eighth spot, Gilberto Simoni of the Balan Alessio team at 25 seconds. Ninth overall, Sergei Ivanov. Good ride by this man from the TVM Farm Freaks team, the Russian, at 31 seconds. Oscar Camazin, who sent his man down the road to try and cause a bit of trouble for the Once team, is in 10th spot at 32 seconds. Nicholas Axelsson of Navigare Garn. You may remember, if you listened to our early part of the coverage of the Tour of Italy, that he fell off and had rumoured to have cracked a rib. Well, it doesn't seem to have stopped him hammering on in 11th spot. He's now 32 seconds down. Axelsson is a long, lanky Swede, and it's good to see him up there. He's not a bad climber, so he could be sort of one of the dark horses of this race. In 12th spot, Andre Noe, Mappe Quickstep at 33 seconds. Enrico Zaino in 13th spot, Mercatone Bianchi at 33. Dano Clavero, Vitalicio Seguros in 14th spot at 33 seconds. Jose Maria Jimenez from the Benesto team is also at 33 seconds, as is Stanieli of Movimento Northway at 33. Then in 17th spot, Santiago Blanco at 36 seconds. So Blanco, they have another rider, Vitello Seguros, poised. In 18th spot, Marco Velo, Mercatone Bianchi at 44 seconds. And Garzelli is 19th, and 20th is Micheli of Liquigas Pep. That's the top 20 riders. We've got, in fact, at the moment, 25 riders, all within 1 minute of Laurent Jalabert. It'll be a different story by tonight. Now only 9 minutes 28 seconds ahead of the main pack. Will begin to accelerate on this final climb of the day, the big one that's been having everybody with bated breath wondering what will happen. This is the climb of l'Aquila Gran Sasso d'Italia, and the yellow shirts on the front shows that Jalabert's team have decided now to try and pull them back, because this man started that this morning about 5 minutes down on general classification, still technically overall race leader on the road. That's Piccoli of the Lamprey-Dakin team, and Carcioli just behind him. Well, I think he was soldering on and hoping that perhaps they may survive and get the stage victory, but they're looking very tired. They went away after 45 kilometres of racing, and on this climb, we're going up here, they've still got around about 25 kilometres to go, and they've been out there right now for what, some 160 kilometres at least. So it's an awful long time in the saddle for these two chaps to stay out there. The conditions were not particularly nice this morning. We had the rain, the drizzle, the wind was a bit nagging and not very nice, and the main bunch just sort of sat up, potted along, and let these two go away. So it's been a hard old day for these two riders, and there the gap, you can see it up on the screen. We start this morning the stage at 9:15 in that Central European time. If you're back in Great Britain, it was 8:15, and it's Saturday. Probably most of you have still got your feet up and your head down and weren't even stirring. So you can imagine these riders here looking on your screen, not only were they up and riding before you even thought about breakfast, they had to get up, of course, before, many of them 2 hours before the race start or 2.5 hours to have their early morning breakfast, their massage, get themselves ready, get down to start. And early starts like that, the runners don't like it at all, having to be off and up and running by 9:15 in the morning. But that's what they did this morning. So one or two chats when we get to the end of this stage, 253 kilometres, will know they've had a day in the saddle, a day at the office, which not many people relish. But there, Mr. Pantani on your screen, looking forward to today, I think, as a chance possibly to take the pink jersey. He's been riding himself into form. He's been there or thereabouts all the way through every day, and this could be the day when he could take the pink jersey, because after today's stage, if he takes pink jersey off Jalabert, who's on your screen there, he'll be like a hero well, he already is a hero anyway, but even a superhero, because after this stage into Gran Sasso d'Italia, we go down tomorrow to a time trial at Ancona, and the next two stages, one into San Sepolcro and then into Centenatico, are not too particularly conky, not too difficult. And so if here we go. Oh dear, this is the trouble. Somebody just, I suspect, chucked his gear off, brought everybody to a halt. Away we go. Who's in trouble? What happens on these climbs? They may be riding on the big ring on the outside, which is about at 53, and on the inside maybe 39 or 40. There's Pantani, who said, by the way, today, if I can find my notes, yes, Pantani reckons he can climb this mountain on 39 by 15. That's a bit of sort of information for the anoraks who love to know what's going on in bikes, and he seems to have just been a bit stuck in that crash and delayed a bit. Let's look again what happened, if we can spot it. Oh, it's further back down. The one or two road into this. It looks as that chap at the back busy putting his hands down into his gear mech, as if he'd thrown the chain off as Pantani starts to accelerate again. Pantani, look, he's on the outside ring. He's on the 53 at the outside. He's still riding the big ring. I wouldn't have thought they're going to throw it onto the small ring yet a while. It's our lead twosome. In fact, the chap on the front here right now, Caccioli, has got his chain on the inside ring. And let's see what Piccolo is. Piccolo is doing the same thing. So it could have been back there. One of the riders was soldering on and switched his gear, just flicked his gear levers, and it could have just thrown over. A lot of these things are adjusted very carefully by the mechanics. And the mechanics, by the way, work tremendously long hours, because when the race is finished, we look back again from the top to see what happened. Oh, this is the... this is the one with Jalabert, by the way. Earlier on I mentioned Jalabert had a problem, and there he is on the side of the road. Now, was he in fact caught, or was he just going to take his lightweight bike? Because that's it. No, he's on his lightweight bike. I think what's happened is that he did get delayed by something, so he decided to take his titanium bicycle on board, and there he is, getting back in the saddle. He saw him quickly press on the put on and then press his little calculator on the top, the computer, so he knows how far they've got to go. That was further back down the course, maybe about 10 or 15 kilometres away, and so Jalabert on his lightweight titanium bike climbing up the mountain towards the top with the rest of them, and as Pantani was saying, could be a threat for the overall. By the way, I've had all sorts of faxes and bits of paper and stuff coming in. As they're all together, perhaps give me a chance to reply to one or two of them as we're settling in here. One from, looks like Mike, it's MCC, but I suppose that's Mike or Mike Verrills from Harlow, who sent me some information about riders' names. I'm sorry if I pronounced Mr. Peñat wrong, because what I have on my page here doesn't have the little squiggle over his end, so I got it wrong, and I do sometimes, I know, get the names a bit wrong, but I counted up, by the way, we have 20 nations in this field of 160 riders. 20 nations, yes, Italians, Russians, Swiss, Slovenians, Czech Republic, Spain, Portugal, Denmark, Holland, Colombia, USA, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Sweden, Germany, Belgium, Latvia, Moldavia, Austria and France, and sometimes I don't get the pronunciation quite right. Slap on wrist, sorry about that, but he also went on to say about, apart from this, keep the flow of info and try to get those silly, I won't pronounce it, but it starts with an S and ends in an S, those silly from the UCI for preventing the development of bicycle technology. And the reason I refer to that just now is we've seen Jalabert change his bike and gone to his very lightweight titanium bicycle, and the UCI are going to impose a minimum weight limit on bicycles. Now, how the hell did he do that? I mean, Eddie Merckx used to go into mountain stage with at least 6 different bicycles, and during the day he would change them. So do you say you have to measure and weigh every bike? There again, if you puncture, do you put in a lighter wheel or a heavier wheel? Do you put little stickers on the wheels to make sure they don't change it? Because in the mountain biking, when they have the bikes checked, because the mountain bikers have to do their own repairs, that when the officials check the bikes, they put a sticker on the frame, a sticker on the wheels, so that you can't go through the pits and change your wheels. You have to change the inner tubes and have to do your own repairs, and if you don't have the stickers on your bike when you're finished, then you could lose your places. I think Chantal Ducor in the World Championship a few years ago lost her silver medal when they checked it and discovered she hadn't got the stickers in place. Not that she cheated, but she forgot to go through the control to begin with to make sure the bike was the way it should be. So how you can actually make sure that Mr. Jalabert's bike is the weight it should be when he gets to finish and change another bike, I just don't know, but perhaps the people in Lausanne have a solution. The chase group with our 2 leaders who've just gone through the 25-kilometre go point. Last time we had a good time check, it was around about 9.5 minutes. There's Laurent Jalabert in the pink jersey on the stage of the Tour in Pescara de l'Aquila Gran Sasso d'Italia. There is Pantani in the number 1 position, because he's got number 1 on his back, because he was last year's victor of this race, also winner last year of the Tour de France, looking to try and get this victory again this year, which has some enormous mountains when we get to Dolomites and the Alps at the end of it all. And well, the crowd waiting at the finish, you can see, I told you earlier on, it's time for you to get your thermal underwear on, because it's 3 degrees up at the top of the mountain, and they're going with the wind 15 kilometers per hour and a 69% chance of it raining. Well, it has rained on and off. It's been very chilly. These are days when commentators not only put all their winter underwear on, but also put on the nylon covers so the wind doesn't come through, because commentary points are not the most salubrious when it comes to mountaintop finishes. Anyway, these 2 chaps aren't bothered about the people waiting at the finish for everybody to come up here, and so these are our 2 leaders. That man on the front there at the moment, Pietro Caccioli, and just behind him Mariano Piccoli. The breakaway group start after 45 kilometres of racing. Their lead is now 7 minutes and 30 seconds. We're inside the final 25 kilometres of the race, and this is the chase group coming up. But again to Mike Verrills from Harlow, who was interested in my comments about the UCI debate. He said to me, by the way, that there's no need to talk to the whole of the broadcast, especially low local sound, if you're going to say it's only a repeat of the earlier programme. I have to repeat things, Mike, and let me tell you why, whilst we've got a chance here of doing this. we're going to be on air for, I think, end of 2 hours this afternoon, but there'll be a 1 hour programme later on tonight, highlight programme. Most nights we have a half-hour highlight programme, and what the people do in Paris is they cut what we're doing into little segments and then stick it together, so people who don't see the afternoon's programme or don't record the whole thing just get a crisp half-hour programme. Nothing worse if you came in to watch the half-hour programme and you didn't know what's going on. And I never know, and people in Paris never know, which bits are going to be put in the highlight programme. So what I have to do every so often, I'm not lecturing, I'm just explaining. If you say, oh God, he's just said that, is that you have to say things so when it gets chopped into the highlight programme, people switching on will know what has gone on before. So that's the main thing. It's highlight programme. Also, not everybody comes in, switch on the telly to watch the start of a programme, and they may be flipping channels, they may have been out mowing the lawn, taking a dog for a walk, shopping down at the supermarket, whatever you might have been doing, coming in and switch on the telly, zap the channels and find cycling, and they never watched cycling before and they want to know what's going on. And it's no good me not repeating things because they might have only picked up the last third or half of the programme. So I'm sorry about that. If I do repeat things for those who watch it all the way through, if I do offend you by saying things 2 or 3 times, it's for a very good reason. I apologise for that, but then it does mean other people, and we do get more viewers, by the way, for our highlights programme in the evening than we do for the live broadcast in the afternoon. So I must look after them as much as you good people who are prepared to soldier on right the way through the afternoon's broadcast, whatever the reason might be. I know some of you sitting at home may be retired, some of you may be redundant, some of you may have just decided to take 3 weeks off and bite the bake rate. Some of you I know are sitting maybe up in hospital or at home recovering from an illness or not particularly well. Whatever it is that's keeping you in front of the television set, thanks for your company. And for those people who have not been very well, thanks for your company too, and we hope you make a good recovery. I've got a fax or an email here, somebody from somebody I should get hold of it shortly, where he actually fell off his bike, I think it was last year, and had to take a few days off work and had the opportunity of watching Eurosport on its way through. And one of the letters I had as well, we watched this little group together, and still Pantani et al. Watching after the pink jersey. Excuse me, I'll just go on to this because I think it's important. I had one from Dave Breslin, an email, who said that the results of the stage of Giro could be put on the website, little Spartan info. Well, I do know that in the present World Cup standings, the UCI have a website. They won't be updating the Tour of Italy, but they have a website, the UCI, and I would suggest and hope that on that website you can grab the World Cup standings from them. And their search, it's www, as you expect that, uci.ch. And it's got an email thing after that one. Also got another one at .admin@UCI.ch. So obviously UCI have something out there that you can pick up. And there is a Giro Italia information coming through on the website. I will try and get that number for you, Dave Breslin, so you can pick it up. But I know that the Tour of Italy does have its own website as well. I'm not certain. In fact, I think just trying to see if I can find it for you at the moment. Anyway, we've obviously got a website here which seems to be whacking things out from Eurosport. It's www.eurosport.com/cycling/Giro/stage8/middle.html. Don't ask me what that is, but that's one of the little emails I've had shoved over my shoulder at the commentary point. So this lot's flying up and down the website, and you might say you should have one, David. The trouble is that to do all these things and keep abreast with modern technology, I'm doing the best I can to adapt to writing in joined up letters, says he, joking and laughing. But I would like to get up on site with all these things, but I can assure watching my colleagues using modern technology, it ain't all that easy, particularly if you're on site at the end of any stage race or on our live broadcast. You've got to find plugs to put things in. Sometimes you can't read the computer because the light is bad, and you've also got to watch the screen like we're doing now and look at a laptop and pick up the stories that are on there, and part of that, of course, you've got to keep inputting things. So I must admit, and people might say you shouldn't admit this, but I admit I'm not a computer fan. I do the best I can to get all the information I can do for you off the headphones, off Radio Tour, off my paperwork, and the computers, I've seen so many of them crash down, I've seen so many problems, and they don't, by the way, don't tell you who's riding now. That's a Veronk in the front there. I can pick him out because I recognise him. And going back to computers too, there's been quite a stir, and This is a little bit of an aside, because I'm sure that some of the cyclists listening to this programme haven't heard the early parts of the programme. There's been quite a stir, because Veronica, as we see here, riding with the Pulte team, they have got at the hotel a facility to go into a tent where they take out the oxygen level, and it's like sleeping at 2,500 metres above sea level, and it's one way of increasing the red corpuscle count in the body. And a lot of riders have been objecting to this. They look, that's not right, but they still think it's quite normal. It's not illegal, and that is what we're doing. And I was able to see, going back to his computer, because I happen to have from Patrick Wallace, that's Sean Wallace's father, full information given to me about a tent that Sean Wallace has developed in America and has been sold to triathletes and cyclists, and you can sleep in this tent, and it has the effect of increasing your red blood corpuscle count as you sleep the night in it. It goes over a double bed. You can actually pack it down with all the instruments that go with it and put it on what's a sort of great big trolley, and off you go. So there are obviously legal ways of increasing your red blood corpuscle count. Well, at the moment, Mr. Pulte's team seems to be a bit aggressed by the rest of the squad for using one of these systems. Pack still chasing after our two leaders on this climb of the day, the final climb of this stage up to L'Aquila Gran Sasso d'Italia, and that one when they get to the top 2,130 metres above sea level, and the action beginning to happen now. But before it blows apart the scenes, I've been joined in my commentary box. In fact, I've got my fishing net out and grabbed him from the German booth, and Klaus Langemann has let me have the company of one Tony Rominger, winner of the Tour of Italy in 1995, and he rode up this big mountain on the 1989 stage when John Carlson won it. Tony, just describe to us what happened then on that occasion. I think you were under certain instructions by your team manager, weren't you?
Yes, hello to England. No, yeah, it was a quite funny story. It's a long time ago. It was 10 years ago. The day before this climb, it was more or less the same. That's the name. After 8 stages, after 8 flat stages, we came to Gran Sasso, and the evening before, the team manager came into my room, and also Bunja was in this room, and he told us, yes, okay, you are quite good in shape. We should finish in the first top 5, each of us, and tomorrow the Giro d'Italia starts. And then, okay, we slept. The morning we get up, we made the race, and both of us cracked. I lost like 3 or 4 minutes. Bunja lost like 5. I passed the line and was thinking, oh my God, we started first the Giro today and we lost it already.
In the end, how did you both finish at the end of that race that year? Can you remember?
This Giro, I don't remember exactly. I think I was in like number 40, something like that.
But you learned a lesson from that. Now, this climb, Tony, just describe what it's like then, if you can remember back then. You've seen it today, how it's going. It seems to me to be a sort of steady, drawn-out drag.
It's not a very hard climb. You can go up with a quite big gear. It's not very steep. The only real problem are the last 2 to 3 kilometers when you come. After 27 kilometers, it's going a little bit down, like 2-3 k's, and then the last 2 k's are quite steep. And there, I think the real attacks, you will see them there, because the other guys, the big ones, they will stay together until the last 2-3 kilometers.
Tony, the other big problem at the top is how cold it is. We've got these bad weather conditions. We've had snow up here. It's been not a very nice day at all. Now, when the riders get there, I seem to remember like Pantani a couple of years ago in the Tour de France complaining that he was up on the top of the mountain, couldn't get his warm clothes on very quickly and got a bit of bronchitis. What are the problems when you finish up at these great heights above sea level, 2,130 metres in the snowy conditions? When you started this morning, 16 degrees, we've had some rain, bit of sunshine, but when you get to the top, what is the effect upon the bike rider, upon their bodies, and what you have to do?
Oh, you have to, but normally they are quite good organized. Everybody, the masseur, they will stand there with dry clothes, and they will take it on so fast as possible and then give you the interviews. I think the problem was for Pantani, like I don't know how many years ago, when he gets sick in Alpe d'Huez. It's more dangerous when you come up to a finish line and it's hot, that you think, oh, I'm so hot, I have to cool down a little bit, and you stand around, you're waiting, and you don't change so immediately. Now today they will change immediately because it's cold up there.
So that's what lies ahead of these riders. I'm going to put you in the hot spot. I know it's cold at the finish, but I'll put you in the hot spot here, Tony. Pantani's been saying that Jalabert is strong enough to resist any attacks today, but surely with Pantani going into his hometown in 3 days at Cenchenatico, I've got Pantani down to win, but would you agree with me, or would you still say it could be Jalabert in the pink? Come on, let's hear from you.
I think today either Pantani, if they get these two guys in front, he will win today. Because it's a climb for Pantani, for Jalabert. Pantani, I think it's better for him and he take into pink the last week.
Yes, because he won't be under pressure, will he? So he may not have it in his hometown. He'll still be celebrated as a great champion there. Talking about champions, we're a bit thin on the ground in Great Britain. And one final comment, David Miller with the Cofidis team, you're involved with the Cofidis squad. I've watched how he's progressing this year. How do you rate David Miller for the future?
Oh, David is a very talented rider. He had... he expected more in the time trial in the Tour de Romandie. He went quite good, but he was himself. He wanted to do a little bit better, but now he's preparing, I think, the Tour de Suisse. He will be a great professional in the future.
Good, thank you for that then. Tony Rominger joining me in the commentary point. He's now going hot foot back to the German booth. And thanks very much indeed for his comments. We're going to take a short break. Stay with us on Eurosport. More action coming up after these few short words. Join us, my thanks, and I'm sure your thanks too, dear viewer back at home, for those words from Tony Rominger. If you're watching our live programme on Eurosport, you will have heard him just before the break talking about this climb, his predictions for today, and those nice words about David Miller, the British rider for the Cofidis squad, who wish the best of luck in the future, because whilst Chris Boardman is still our number one rider at international level, with Max Chandry as well looking after the single-day classics, we're looking for new talent coming through, and perhaps in some years to come we'll see riders in this Tour of Italy riding, Great Britain riders riding and going well up on the climbs. But a young lad called Jamie Burrows, who's based out in Italy, who a lot of people are talking about with bated breath, and wait to see how he comes on in the future. One of the Dave Rayner Fund riders, who's been supported by that great fund in memory of the rider who had that unfortunate accident in Bradford some years ago and met an untimely death. And every year in October we have a fundraising for the Dave Rayner Fund, which has helped to take people like Dave Rayner and take people like David Miller and Jamie Burrows et al. Into the continent where all the racing really happens. You're looking at the breakaway group here, Carcioli. That's Pietro Carcioli on the left-hand side of your screen. Riding up this climb, and he's in there for the Amica Chips Costa d'Armeria team, which is led by Berzin, past winner of this race in 1994. Another man in that team is Ekimov. So it's a team comprised of some of the old stars of yesterday and some of the new stars of tomorrow. And this young lad went away with Piccoli. They went away at 45 kilometres from the start of the race, and when we get to the end of this race, they'll have done 253 kilometres in all. So if they survive to the end, they'll have done something like 210 kilometres on their own at the front. But the gap's been coming down all the way through, and you can see at the moment it's been reduced. In fact, the last time check we had was 3 minutes and 47 seconds with 20 kilometres to go. They've come under the 20k banner. 3:47 is the gap, so I think their moment of glory is over and done with. This is the fourth time that this race has arrived at the top of the L'Aquila Gran Sasso d'Italia. In 1971, as we see these two riders down the bottom left of your screen, soldiering on. The first victor here was Vicente Lopez Carril of the CAS team from Spain. And then just behind him in second spot at 4 seconds was Huprecht of Belgium, and Vianelli from Italy was at 30 seconds. And on the finish here in 1985, it was Franco Ciccioli that got the stage victory, and he was just ahead of Wilson, the Australian rider, 14 seconds back, and Montoya, the Colombian, at 23 seconds. The one that Tony Rominger finished up here a bit off the pace, much to the disgust of his team manager, that was won by John Carlson. Whatever happened to him? We've been racking our brains to say whatever happened to John Carlson, the Danish rider who was nowadays riding for Fagor. Well, he finished in 5 hours 21 minutes ahead of the Colombian rider Herrera by 29 seconds, and Lejarreta of Spain was in third spot. Now, Lejarreta is the team manager today of the Once team. You can see the lads in yellow. Well, in fact, you can't see many of them now. This is the Pantani's mob at the front, the riders from the Mercatanuna Bianchi squad in the yellow and darkish blue. But if you look further back for Jalabert, you'll still see the odd yellow jersey with the figure of the blind man on the back of it. Well, the team manager today of the squad is Lejarreta, who finished in third spot in 1989. when this race went up this climb. The reason he's looking after it is that Manolo Sainz, who is the team manager of the Once squad, has actually gone back to Spain. It's his young, I'm not sure if it's his daughter or his son, I think it's one of his young daughters. He's gone back to, now, please forgive me if I don't use the exact words, but it's a sort of holy communion for children when they're about 7 or 8 years of age under the Roman Catholic faith, and they have this very special gathering at the church, and the children go there, they're received into the church, and he's gone back as one would expect on a great occasion like this. So we've lost Manuel Sainz from the race, and he left the control of the team in the capable hands of La Jarreta, who had the distinction of riding the Tour of Spain, the Tour of Italy and the Tour de France, all 3 races on the trot, and he did it for about 3 years in succession. There we're looking at Jalabert sat in the centre of this group, and you can see up there on the face of those riders too that whilst Tony Rominger was saying it isn't a vicious, sharp little climb, it's certainly sapping the strength of these riders. We're on stage 8 of this race, 253 kilometres today, and they've started out in the blazing hot sunshine in Sicily with the temperatures up around about the sort of 35, 38 degrees. It's now getting just around about 5 degrees above freezing, and so you can see how the chaps are pulling on their black arm warmers and making sure when they get toward the top they're prepared for the temperatures which get colder and colder when they get towards the top of the race. So I've just taken you through the arrivals here before. Actually, Vicente Lopez Carril, who was first here in 1971, he's dead now. I don't know what he died of, but he was quite an early death. He died at the ripe old age of 38, and I'm sure some will tell me he got run down or what have you, but he popped his clogs in 1980. He was the Spanish champion in 1974 and was third in the Tour de France in 1974. That was the year that Merckx did the Tour of Italy and the Tour de France, won both of them, and the World Championship. And in fact, Bromley Videos have got a super video of that 1974 Tour of Italy. It's well worth getting in your collection if you want to see what this race was like in those days, dominated by the indefatigable Eddie Merckx. Two leaders look like they're getting very tired indeed. You're looking at Mariano Piccoli in the pink and the blue, who's been twice the King of the Mountains winner in the Tour of Italy, beginning to look a bit tired, and one can understand why, because we're inside the final 20 kilometres. They went away after 45 kilometres of racing, and now they're being hounded down by this chase group, which includes, as you can see, some of the specialist climbers who are just relishing this day. That's Gonzalez, who's just gone off down the road. Chepe Gonzalez already got a stage victory in the Tour under his belt, and there he goes on the far side, whipping round, trying to go past the draft of the motorcycle, the Kelme Costa Blanca Eurosport rider, rocking off from here, and he's probably got a bit too early, I think, because we're not really, I think that's 15 k's to go just down the road, but he's gone, and he's going to try and split this field up. So you see the gathering speed on this long gradual climb up towards the finish of today's stage at L'Aquila Gran Sasso d'Italia. Looking back down for that group coming through. Well, 15 kilometres it is to go then for our two leaders, and the conditions getting worse all the way up. I was saying earlier in our programme, we've had the snow ploughs out this morning. You had to clear some of the snow away. It's been doing it for the last couple of days. A bit of a flurry here and there, but so far the sun has not moved away the snow which had fallen in the winter. Jalabert in the pink now knows that he has a chance if he keeps the pressure on to keep that pink jersey. A quick rundown then on the overall classification as we go into today's stage. Laurent Jalabert, the overall leader, his gap ahead of Daniel De Luca is just some 7 seconds. De Luca, who's been quite a surprise in this race so far. He took that tremendous performance the other day when he took that second spot on the climb and nearly took the jersey off Jalabert. De Luca had 3 stage victories and the overall victory in the Baby Tour of Italy a couple of years ago, and he came into this race not exactly as a complete unknown, but he caught a few people napping, and I think that they're going to have to watch out for him today. He is riding for the Cantina Tolo Alexia team, and there we are. That you see the colours there, the blue with the reddish stripe down. That's Cantina Tolo Alexia team, and if you want to watch out for him then as he goes through, he's wearing number 48, because you'll begin to pick up some of the riders there. We can see number 56 for instance on your screen, and that is Sevilla, Oscar Sevilla of Kelme Costa Blanca. This man in the white, blue and red for the TVM Farm Freaks team, that's Ivanov, the Russian champion, who's also having a darn good tour as well. He's up there at the moment in 9th spot overall in classification. So a rundown on the GC. The right hand side, it's the gap showing between our two leaders and the main pack. which includes just about anybody who's anybody. And I just picked out there another quick look there at 165, Gunchar from the Vini Calderona team in the blue, helping out his teammate Mr. Weinsteins, who would also be looking to do well today. Our two leaders could be snaffled up. It could be then down to the top men to shuffle the pack. Will Jalabert lose his jersey? 7 seconds behind. Daniel De Luca from Cantina Tolo Alexia at 7 seconds. Third spot overall, Paolo Salvadelli, Psycho Cannondale at 16 seconds. Fourth spot, Davide Rebellin, Team Polti at 20 seconds. Fifth spot, Marco Pantani, Mercatone Uno Bianchi at 22 seconds. Sixth spot, Dario Frigio, Psycho Cannondale at 22 seconds. Seventh spot, the 97 victor of the Tour of Italy, Ivan Gotti of the Polti team, also at 22 seconds. In eighth spot, Gilberto Simoni of the Belan Alessio team at 25 seconds. In ninth spot, Sergei Ivanov of Russia, TVM Farm Freights at 31 seconds. And 10th is Oscar Kamazin, Lampre Daikin at 32 seconds. The Navigare gain rider Niklas Axelsson is also at 32 seconds in the 11th spot. 12th, André Noe from Mappe Quick Step at 33. Enrico Zainer for Mercatone Bianco is in 13th spot at 33 seconds. Clevero for Italia Seguros is 14th at 33 seconds. The gap is coming down on your screen. Another great climber, Jose Maria Jimenez from Banesto is at 33 seconds. We look further down the list of riders who could be causing a few surprises today. We have to go down and discover that in fact there are 25 riders within 1 minute of the current leader on the classification, Laurent Jalabert. Don't worry too much about the Chepi Gonzalez in the green and the white and the blue for the Calme Costa Blanca team. He and a whole host of the Calme boys in the split which we had running in on the stage a couple of days ago, he got completely blasted out. They lost nearly 3 minutes, and therefore they're only looking for stage victories rather than overall classification, though they could come good in the Alps and the Dolomites. But certainly their job is to go for stage victories. And today, who's going to get it? Well, hang on in it, and let's see who's going to get that. We're just looking at the main pack. A quick look at Axelsson. He's wearing number 101 for Navigagan, one of the tallest riders up the front pack right now as we close up towards the low clouds and the chance to see who's going to get to stage victory. All these people with their mobile vans, these camper vans, they've of course got the advantage of being able to jump inside there and keep warm, waiting for the arrival of the riders. We've lost the action from the race because of the problems with the helicopter. I'm going to try and pick up on my headphones the race information coming in, and so from time to time I'll pause to try and use my inefficient Italian to try and pick out what's happening back there. But last time there was only about half minute between our two breakaway riders and the main pack. They like to be absorbed, and then the whole thing can blur apart the scene coming up here. Camper vans on the side of the road. Mobivetta is one of the sponsors of the teams in the Tour of Italy this year. They make camper vans, so no doubt they're relishing the fact that their products are being used by all and sundry to come up here. Today, thank goodness, they've managed to clear the snow off the roads. It was in that stage after Val d'Isère when Stephen Roche tried to go over the mountain after the race went up with the bulldozer. Look, see, there's the snow plough, which had been working very hard. And that particular day, I remember on the Tour de France I went over, there was a snow plough the night before ready to push all the snow away. Well, they did it, and then once the race had gone through, not actually riding, they're all in coaches and team cars. Once they'd gone through, all the people in the camper vans tried to get out on the road to find a short cut back towards Siestra and Sestria, and because there was so much snow still slushed all over the road, the camper vans were spinning round, getting stuck, and so they weren't able to get up or down the mountains, and that was it as far as many people were concerned for the day. Our two leaders, you can see there, with inside 9k's to go, still living dangerously out the front. Won't be long before this group comes and catches them. Well, my colleague from the Italian broadcasting, I've just been having a chat to him, he's nearly losing his voice. He's been on air since about 12:30 today. We've paced our coverage of the race for you from Eurosport's coverage, but his poor chaps have been blasting away since 12:30 this morning, and the cold conditions begin to get it all and sundry, and still looking back down through these foggy conditions, waiting for it to come through for this next week as well. And if your appetite has been whetted and you want to take part in one of these special rides, you've still got just about chance, by the way, to ride the stage. The 6th Pedalata Rosa takes place on Sunday week. That's a week tomorrow, as our two rides are about to be caught. And I think if you phoned up this number, says he, got your pencil and paper, 0171 828 9171, then you could be taking part on the stage. It's 15th stage of the Tour of Italy, and on Sunday week they're going to have a ride for people. You get a free pink jersey go with. Our two breakaway lives now been absorbed by the main bunch, and I know that quite a number of cyclists in Great Britain will go out there on the special trips, and you can take part in that stage 15, which is I think it's got a bit of a conk towards the end. Well, Pantani looks like he's attacked. We get information coming over our headphones that Pantani has started to attack. I'm waiting for confirmation of that one. It's Pantani who started to go for it. And here he is. We picked the information up on our headphones that Pantani it was that was going away from the main pack, and he started out this morning, as I told you earlier on, with that narrow gap between himself and the pink jersey. Jalabert in pink this morning, Pantani lying 5th overall at 22 seconds. Get the watches running. This is where Pantani has to win the stage and take more than 10 seconds out of Jalabert if he's going to take over the pink jersey. The Tifoso are going absolutely balmy. This is par for the course, the challenge. In fact, Pantani has his own bodyguards. When he crosses the line, you'll see bodyguards swarming round about him to protect him from the Tifosi, who look upon him now as a god. He's become, in the legend of the Italians, a sort of man that Fausto Coppi was all those years ago. And it's Fausto Coppi that won the Tour of Italy some 50 years ago, and I've been referring to that book from time to time, and I refer to it on as we go further up the country, because this man now, probably amongst all Italians, has followed in Coppi's footsteps. We've had great grand champions since then, the Gimondis of this world, the Cicciolis of this world, but in reality, the man who's now fired up the whole of Italy. In fact, they did a test of the public's recognition of sporting people, and ahead of all the footballs, ahead of all the motor car drivers, ahead of anything, when they investigated with market research, the name on everybody's lips was Pantani. 86% of the Italian population know of him, know what he's done, and support him. So he's got tremendous following. That's why these people turn out today. There's only one man they want to see in pink at the end of the stage, and it's Marco Pantani himself, winner last year of the Tour of Italy, now trying to see off Laurent Jalabert in the pink. Rackelson's still in there. There's Jalabert, and that must be more than 10 seconds. Oh, it's 40 seconds, 40 secondi, the gap between Pantani and Jalabert coming over my headphones, 40 secondi, it's 40 seconds is the gap. Pantani can be in pink if it stays like this. Absolute mayhem as the bikers come to a grinding halt. Well, it took a long time for this stage to erupt. It's all happened in these final 7 or 8 kilometres. This group that were together have been blown apart the seams by the specialist climber himself, Marco Pantani, doing what he does best, riding away from everybody else. There's a pilot flag flying in the background. Gosh, there'll be some celebrating the old town tonight. .48 seconds coming in to back to some of the top riders behind Pantani. Cameron's in at 34 seconds behind Pantani. Here he is, and we had some of those time gaps coming in, just telling what's happening with people like Camazin and Jalabert, but Pantani's romping in here. He's going to take the stage victory, and from the time coming over my headphones, he's certainly going to take the pink jersey as well. Jalabert hasn't got a cat's chance in hell to take it now. What a brilliant performance. I remember last year at Les Deux Alpes when this man decimated Ulrich. when he pulled back at one time, he'd been over 8 minutes down on general classification. He can ride when the conditions are warm, he can ride when the conditions are wet and miserable. And here Pantani, you can see on his face what it's taken out of him. He's come in this race, he's been well defended by his team. The Mercato Nuna have been there all the time, protecting him on the flatter stage of the race. He's kept out of trouble, he stayed in contention, he takes the victory then. Pantani takes the stage. L'Aquila Gran Sasso d'Italia, and by my check he's going to take the pink jersey as well. Well, Jimenez coming up behind him. And Alex Zuller, this is a ride from Zuller, brilliant ride by Zuller. Everybody had written this fellow off after his problems in suspension for 7 months, but he's come up with Jimenez, those two Benesto riders, 20 seconds back on Pantani, and Gotti just coming over the line, winner in 1997. Even just anything Gotti. So Buonarrota was in that little group coming into over 40 seconds. Frigio also came across the line in that little group. And Pierpelli also in that group. So as Jalabert, you can see the look on his face. He's going to lose that pink jersey. Crosses the line now, just over 1 minute down on Pantani. And that's Luttenberger. Coffee through, and this I think is De Luca coming in. I'll just check it for you. Yeah, De Luca just come across the line at 1 minute and 30 seconds down. Well, here this morning his second spot will now be dropping back because Jalabert will be still ahead of him. Gosh, those last 5 kilometres completely destroyed this race. We're looking at riders here, we're all grouped together 5Ks to go, and Pantani just ripped them to pieces. And Ivanov coming through for TVM, 2 minutes and 8 seconds down. The race is going to have a very different look about it when the results are published. Rebellin doing a good ride to stay up there in contention, but the gaps, I think, have been set. The time trial will be quite fascinating, the Ancona time trial, because Pantani is not said to be the best time trialist, but I think he's got sufficient gap probably here to keep that pink jersey. We're going to have that one on Eurosport as well, the time trial. Ancona, stage 9 of the tour, and that's just over 32 kilometres. And Pantani, we saw last year in the Tour of Italy, in both the time trials, looked like a changed man. He'd done a lot of work in the wind tunnels, he perfected his position, he had a determination not to lose time in the time trials, and he may still do it tomorrow. 32 kilometres is the distance, and the gap, as you can see on the screen coming up here to some of the other people, is such they won't pull that lot back out of him, but those second and third. And in fact, from Jalabert's point of view, he could still close up on Pantani in the time trial tomorrow. It's not all over yet as far as he's concerned, and that was Pantani's big worry, was that with the ability of Jalabert to ride against the watch, a past world champion against the watch, that Jalabert could still be a threat. So that's the stage then, Ancona tomorrow, but Pantani will be last man to go in pink. The crowd very much at the top of the climb, waited with bated breath for the finish of today's stage. They got what they want, they got Pantani. Here we see him now attacking, a look back at the attack that took Pantani away from the world champion Camazin, away from Jimenez, away from Rebellin, away from the rest of the people, including the pink jersey, Laurent Jalabert. A well-timed attempt by this man who's got that superb gift to be able to pedal up into the mountains and just devastate the opposition. He used that piece in his armoury superbly today. He's riding a very special bike. This is one that he had for the mountains. It's not the one he's been racing on so far today. And off he went, ripping the whole of the rest of the field to pieces. The only man that could stay with him to begin with was Ivan Gotti from the Polti team. You see him in second spot, hanging on here. Gotti, the winner of 1997 Tour of Italy, trying to stay with the man who won it 1998, Pantani, just up at the front. But in the end, the elastic broke and away went Pantani, rocketing up the hill. Gotti trying determinedly to stay with him. But eventually the elastic would go. Look at the gap that was opening up further back. This is a gift. Marco Pantani. Well, not only is he a great climber, but he's got great panache too. He's a great grand champion. He will certainly be worth every penny he's going to get next year for contracts, and some people are saying his total earnings could be approaching £2 million from sponsorship, not only of the teams he rides for, but the way in which he also lends his name to products which he's kept his name to himself to negotiate, and I think he's worth every penny. Great entertainer. Not only does he entertain us on the screen, he's a great painter, and he holds exhibitions of his paintings, and he's known to take his guitar down to the cafe in the winter and sit there and sing songs. And it was about 3 years ago, after that terrible crash when he broke his legs, and particularly one of them in two pieces, Pantani took up not only playing the guitar, but he went and sang, and I was covering the Tour of Italy for, it was either SPN or Mnet, one of either the South African or the American station, and the introduction of the Tour of Italy that year was a song which had been written and was sung by Pantani. I don't think he actually wrote the words, but he did the singing. He wasn't exactly number one on the hit parade, but certainly he got himself up on the rostrum as a singer on that occasion. And now we see that he had to get rid of Gotti on this climb. We only had 2 Ks to go, and the way he did it later on, you'll be able to see on your screens here on the look back at the run up toward the finish. We couldn't bring you this live at the time because the helicopter couldn't fly, and very quickly our directors grabbed hold of the tape off the motorcycle, bunged it in the machine, so you back home like myself can see it for the first time. I was relying just on the radio message coming through to hear that Pantani had gone away, to hear what the gap was opening up. We couldn't see anything from our commentary point. The screens were just showing you shots of the mountains, but on the headphones was coming the information that Pantani had gone. This is how he went at the time, and many thanks go out to the hard-working people on the cameras, on the motorbikes, who enable us to bring these tapes to you within seconds of the race finishing. This is modern technology now. You imagine what it must have been years gone by before live television could bring you these sights, and you have to rely very much on films later day, or you get some radio reports and on the newspapers next day. But you can actually see it, you can smell it, and like myself, we're going to admire it here on Eurosport. Live this afternoon, a look back at Pantani destroying the field on this stage 8 of the race. Just savour this. It's damn cold. Nearly 158 miles of racing today. It's stage 8. And Pantani does what he knows best, ripping people to pieces in the mountains. Typical climber's build. He's just 1.70 m. He weighs 57 kilograms. Born to climb mountains. And look at the tifosi. These people go absolutely bananas and over the top. They've come out here, been out some of them all night in their camper vans just to see this moment with 1 km to go. Their grand champion Pantani. Well, he said he was going to pedal up this climb on a 39 by 15. I can't count the teeth for you to say if he's doing that just now, but that was going to be his gear selection at the final. Whatever it is, it certainly took away from the rest of them. For you experts who want to know, by the way, the bike he's riding on, the seat tube measurement is 47 centimetres. The top tube is 51.9 centimetres, and so that's the sort of main dimensions of his bicycle. That I thought you might be interested in that. And there he goes. This is a special bike he had from Mr. Bianchi just for this occasion to ride the big mountains. Bianchi part of the Cycle Europe group that also include people like Peugeot and Gitam, big names in bike racing. And the big boss of Cycle Europe has been out to watch the tour this year, and I'm sure this is the moment he's going to really savour as the Bianchi name yet again crossed the line in first spot. The name so well respected over the years, particularly those of us who were supporters of the great Fausto Coppi, who carried the Bianchi name and rode Bianchi bikes in his career. And this was the sort of thing he did best, go riding away from the rest of the field, and we're watching Pantani do it yet again. It almost makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck, doesn't it? To see this sort of ability, because what we're watching here is not just a mountain climber that can win mountain stages, then go back into the main pack and we don't see him again. There's been some tremendous gifted mountain climbers that haven't always won the overall competitions, but Pantani has shown that he can then still continue his aggression and take, as he did last year, the Tour of Italy and the Tour de France. He still hasn't made his mind up about riding the Tour de France this year, and I think only once in recent years has the defending champion not ridden in the Tour de France. So I just hope he makes it. But you imagine the pressures that are on him from the public, from the press, from the media, from his family. But today, as he came around the corner, Pantani took that to stage, and the pink jersey. Stage 8 of the Tour of Italy, going to that brilliant climber, the pirate himself, in first spot. And you can see on his face that wasn't easy, was it? Sometimes riders cross the line, all smiles, sometimes they virtually collapse, but Pantani there showing the pressure that he'd been put under. The big question, of course, is has he taken too much out of himself? Will he be able tomorrow in the time trial to recover in time? Fortunately, only a 32-kilometre time trial. Tonight, the mechanics will be looking after his bikes, getting those ready. The masseur will be giving him massage. He'll be having his food, his sleep. Let's see what he's saying. Well, we haven't got the interview coming up on our sound at the moment. I've actually got on my headphones, but my talent isn't that good. I can struggle through it. No, he's now gone back up onto the rostrum for the flowers and the applause. And there is his trophy. Winner then of stage 8 of the Tour of Italy, Pescara l'Aquila Gran Sasso d'Italia, Marco Pantani himself. Sensibly well wrapped up with that warm anorak and his special prize. Well, later on we're going to be going over a big climb. I think it's on the last one day of the Gran Premio Fausto Coppi, in memory of that great specialist climber who used to decimate the field by his support. And look how he's recovered now. Look at his face, how happy he is. And just think back a few moments when we saw him cross the line and his face was just showing the pressure he'd been under on those final few kilometres. But now he's recovered, he's happy. It's amazing how fast bike riders do recover. Those of us who've been involved in the sport over years will know what it's like. You cross the line, you finish your race, whatever the case may be, you feel absolutely gutted, and you get off your bike, you can hardly stand up, and then it all comes back. That is the dedication of of hours of training. And you imagine this man, when he broke his legs, when they thought he wasn't going to walk again, let alone ride his bike again, had to go in a swimming pool when he had a leg in plaster with special plastic over to stop the water getting around his plastery legs, to try and get some exercise to stay in the sport of cycling. He could have retired, I suppose, and maybe got to get himself some insurance, but no, he fought his way back, and not only did he come back just to walk and then to ride a bike, but came back to win the big mountain stages, to win the Tour of Italy last year, to win the Tour de France, and I think has shown supreme courage to recover from that horrific accident when coming down a hill he ran into a 4x4 drive car coming up the other way, which had been allowed out on the course. It's a horrific smash, and Pantani, who's broken more bones in his body, I suppose, than any other cyclist, thought his career was over and done with. He in fact has a reputation for getting into the wrong place at the wrong time, a bit like Alex Zuller, because we have known what was in the Tour of Italy about 3 years ago when a black cat ran out and went into Pantani's wheel and down he came. Of all the people that had the black cat hit him, it was Pantani. We're going to keep our fingers crossed, as will all this crowd here, that from now on in to the end of the Tour of Italy, that Pantani will have a ride which gives him no problems at all with black cats or cars coming the other way. We want to see this man ride, see how well he recovers, see what pressure he comes under, because it's not over yet. We saw Jimenez coming up not far behind him on the climb. Gotti was there as well. Savadelli, we've got a lot of top people still wanting to catch this man napping, and his team will have to work very hard indeed on the way through, because now he's going to be a marked man. Everywhere he goes, the opposition will be watching for him, and one by one the other teams will attack that pink jersey, and Pantani's going to have to ride. This is only 8th day of this 22-stage Tour of Italy. He's in the pink. Pantani receiving the applause of the tifosi, who are going absolutely mad. Can you hear him in the background? Last man underway. He has the pink jersey, and the gaps at the start of the time trial today on general classification. Pantani starting off last, just 38 seconds separating him from Jimenez, who started 2 minutes in front of Pantani. Third place overall, Gotti, 45 seconds down on Pantani this morning on general classification. And fourth place, Frigo, at 54 seconds. Fifth place, Laurent Jalabert, all the fives. He's fifth, and it's 55 seconds. 30 k's then, he's just done his first 2 kilometres, has Pantani. He knows the danger man has got to be Laurent Jalabert. Jalabert being a past world time trial champion. Our camera's staying with Pantani, who very much is a god in Italy after his victory last year in the Tour of Italy, and of course his back-to-back victory with the Tour de France. He's in the pink jersey, following that demonstration of sheer speed on the mountain when he came over the top first yesterday. If you didn't see it, his second spot was Jimenez at 23 seconds. Zuller, a brilliant ride by Zuller yesterday, by the way, to finish just in third spot at 26 seconds. Pantani cheered on by the people around the course. Kamazin here trying to topple Zuller, and he's just done it. 2012, well, that's a great performance by Oscar Kamazin, the world champion, against Alex Zuller, a past time trial champion of the world, and looking like he's coming into good form is Alex Zuller. Let's see what Gonchar and Jalabert can do here at this particular point. Gonchar's gone into the lead, 1953. That's not a year for the wine to be brewed. This is a year when we watched the race between Jalabert and Pantani. 1937, 38, 39, 40. Still coming up and counting. He might just take it off Gonchar. And 1948 is the time then for Jalabert at that particular point. So he's gone into the lead. And what can Pantani do about it? You see the rolling hills on what is not one of your drag strips. And so Pantani has got all the time checks coming in, and Jalabert absolutely whizzing along here, turning back in towards the finish. The champion of France in the blue, white and red, had the pink jersey on his back, but now he's lost it to Pantani, who's setting off some 10 minutes behind him. Here he is. Well, Pantani in the time trial section of the Tour of Spain last year did a tremendous ride to keep that pink jersey. Can he do the same today as Zuller comes? In fact, Zuller's pulled back his 2-minute man, and Zuller's looking good. Zinchenko, the best time at 42.36 at the moment. Can Zuller do it? Well, for my money, he can. That's going to be a lovely benchmark then. I've always been a Zuller fan. I got a bit upset when they found he'd been a bit naughty last year and they banned him for 7 months. That's his problem, and at least he's served his sentence now, and he's come back with a bang at 41.51. Changed the Banesto squad, and his teammate Jimenez started 2 minutes in front of Pantani. Coming up now towards the time check. Look at this! Pantani, Jalabert locked in combat. And Pantani goes there through 1949, Gonchar 1953, so just about 1 second separating them. Jalabert went through in 1948, and now Pantani's gone through in 1949, 1 second separating. Well, that looks like a nice cushion for Pantani. It's the halfway point, and therefore coming back, he's just got that 50-odd seconds, maybe 54 seconds, to be on his side running into the finish. So Jalabert's hope to get back the pink jersey could well fail today. He's now got 10 kilometres to go to the finish. Can you hear the noise in the background? The adulation, and when he runs in to his hometown, Cesenatico, in 2 days' time, wearing this pink jersey, then undoubtedly we're going to see even a bigger crowd than you're seeing on the side of the road now, because once over the top of this time trial, his teammates, I'm sure, will protect Pantani on the next 2 days. He'd love to take that pink jersey into his hometown. Pantani, really a revelation when it's coming to time trialling. One time it was his worst possible performance on the bike. Last year he was third on the stage into Mendriso when Gonchar won that one in the time trial. And now we're watching Gonchar come up here, winner of that time trial last year in the Tour of Italy. This is his speciality, Gonchar. He could, if he goes well like this, pick himself up on the general classification from where he started this morning, because Gonchar was way off the pace, and looks like he's now going to make quite an impression on this one. It's a cracking time. He's going to topple Zuller's 41.51. Here he goes. And he's done it. A good 50 seconds. 41.01 for Gonchar. And that means he's now pushed Zuller off the top spot. Jalabert out on the road. Well, Gonchar, he was start this morning in 13th spot over on general classification, 1 minute 39 seconds down on Pantani, and that sort of performance is undoubtedly going to pull him up by his bootstraps. Zuller this morning in 15th spot started 1 minute 44 seconds down on Pantani, so that the specialists when it comes to time trialling now are snapping at the great man's heels, or in fact they finished ahead of him. Pantani knows what he's got to do. This man, Gotti on your screen, winner of the Tour of Italy 1997, not one of the world's greatest specialists when it comes to time trialing, but we should, I think, see a respectable performance for him as Jalabert goes through his 5 kilometres to go. That's about, I don't know, 6 minutes, I suppose, so 35 plus 6, 41. Well, Jalabert could be in with a shout to be up there in round about 41, maybe 42 minutes, if my arithmetic is very correct, because if they go around this course at 30 miles an hour, it means they will be finishing inside 40 minutes. Nobody's got down inside the 41 so far. As Cameron comes in here, Zuller still in second spot after Gonchar's superb ride. And Oscar Cameron's in, riding in his pink and blue jersey. He's the world road champion, but he can't wear his road championship jersey in a time trial. And he comes across the line in second spot, 41.33. Laurent Jalabert, he's now caught up with Noé, who started 2 minutes in front of him. André Noé now has been passed by a flying Laurent Jalabert, who at the halfway point was just 1 second separating him from Marco Pantani. So Jalabert's got a big mountain to climb, if I can use that expression, on a time trial, which doesn't have anything phenomenal there to go up it, as Pantani knows the time check's coming in on his way through. He goes through this particular point. There's another time check for him out the other side, that remarkable building with the tunnel going straight the way through, and everybody cheering on their age. So here we are back with Pantani, and he's going to catch his 2 minute man. That must be Jimenez. Well, Jimenez is not the world's greatest time trialist, and he's about to be sucked in by Pantani. That was an amazing performance. That's good shot. I hope we see that again later on. But here, coming in toward the finish, Jalabert throwing all caution to the wind. He's been round this course to know exactly every inch or centimetre of it, throwing his bike left, right again. Well, the Italian public have taken to Jalabert in this race so far. They've admired his fighting spirit, and they're the time 41.01 to beat, and Jalabert looks like he might get it. He's still going away from Noe and coming up this climb towards the end. Jalabert's come back from the far turn like a dose of salts, and he could well pop the clocks here for as far as the leader position is concerned. Gonchar is undoubtedly a great specialist when it comes to time trialling, but Jalabert's got to surprise a few people here on that return trip. He was not in contention at the turn compared with Gonchar, and now it looks like he's come back very quickly indeed. Jalabert comes through. 40.36, that's a brilliant ride. Laurent Jalabert has now taken the lead, a convincing 40 minutes and 36 seconds. Gonchar back there some 25 seconds behind him. What determination Jalabert has shown. And we're looking back at slow motion. I hope we'd go back and pick up the shots of Pantani going past Jimenez. By the way, he can't go on his wheel. Only switched across here. You have to leave several bike lengths behind. And if you start slipstreaming the man who's caught you for 2 minutes, the commissaires won't be very happy indeed. As Frigio is now on his way in to finish. And then 40.36 is the one to beat. And Pantani, well, way up for, well, only got 54 seconds separating at the halfway point. Coming back in with Jimenez in his draft, the last two riders to come through. Everybody checking their watches in the finishing area. Remember, just to only start this morning, 55 seconds separating Laurent Jalabert from Marco Pantani. And Pantani in the pink. Jimenez able to hold him right now. I think he mustn't get too close. The commissaires might say a few things about him, but Pantani still rolling on in here, almost to a hero's welcome. He's learned to time trial. It was one of his weakest parts of his performances. He went into wind tunnels, he flattened his back, he had lost his position, and he's done a lot of training to perfect his time trialing. And on this short stage today of just some 32 kilometres, that's 20 miles, then he shouldn't really lose that pink jersey. The clock now 39.04, and Jalabert's time 40.036. He's got to watch out. There's only a minute and a half in it. Pantani tucking himself in. Look, I told you about the wind tunnel testing and how he's improved his position, but he's starting to roll a bit. And that's 1 kilometre to go. Now, a kilometre on this drag up to here is just over a minute, and the last time check I had there, it was about a minute and 30 seconds between himself and Jalabert, and he's got to go some towards the end here. 40.23, Jalabert's finishing 40.36. In fact, he's going to be any moment now on Jalabert's time. And remember, this morning there were 55 seconds separating these two riders, and so now 40.34, 4.35, and exactly now he's on the same time as Jalabert. He has to get to finish inside 55 seconds on his twisting and turning uphill drag towards the end, and Pantani's giving all he's got. He's got to stay within 55 seconds of Jalabert, and that's my calculation means what, about 41, I don't know, 26 or thereabouts. And Gonchar, his second place is at stake, but it's the pink jersey which is also at stake as Jimenez comes back at Pantani, who seems to be fading on the run into the finish. 41.36 was the time, sorry, 40.36 of Jalabert, 41.15. So in fact now that's some 40 seconds have gone by, and the clock's counting down, and Pantani's got to watch it. He could be in danger of losing that pink jersey. Thundering on here in toward the finish. As he hits the line, it's going to be 41.31, and that's 55 seconds difference if my arithmetic's correct. They have to be equal on time. Jalabert and Pantani are equal on time. Wow! I've never ever seen a time trial finish like that. Battling for the pink jersey in the Tour of Italy, or for the yellow jersey, or the Amado in the other top race. I remember when Greg LeMond won the Tour de France by 8 seconds, beating the great French champion Fignon, as he came down the Champs-Élysées, having turned the Arc de Triomphe. And there you can see 55 seconds is the gap that's confirmed. It'll be down to the tenths of seconds, down to the hundredths of seconds to see who takes that pink jersey. They can't be exactly equal. Surely the tenths or hundredths will show where the pink jersey goes to. Let's look again at Pantani battling to survive on his way in towards the finish. He lost a lot of time coming back. It must have been the headwind which got him, because undoubtedly Jalabert came back from the far turn much faster than Pantani did. It was notably slowing because Jimenez managed to stay with him. And even on the uphill run, he just lost that bit of edge to his speed, and he might have lost the pink jersey. Well, we're going to wait now for the official result to come up. I hope you'll stay with us on Eurosport to see what happens of Laurent Jalabert. A superb finish as far as he's concerned, to cover the distance in 40 minutes and 36 seconds. And on the split seconds thereafterwards, it is that Marco Pantani has lost his pink jersey. So Jalabert taking the taking the flowers of victory. He'll also be shortly taking, though, with that pink jersey too as well. So the pop flies as far as Jalabert is concerned. The French champion scintillating in the race today. The Italian tifosi a bit disappointed that Pantani has lost out, but it's so close by Nat's whisker that anything can happen on the next couple of stages. But somehow I think we'd like to find Jalabert keeping that jersey. Tomorrow we've got a fairly smooth run down in toward the finish at San Sepolcro, 189 kilometres. A good flat run in toward the finish, and the time bonus is 12:08 and 4. Could well go to the sprinters, so Jalabert's team can control it and make sure also at the Giro that Pantani doesn't get away. On the next stage then, in from San Sepolcro to Centenatico, the home of Pantani. There's a big climb to begin with within the first 20 kilometres or so, but I think Jalabert could stay there, control the race with his Once team on the stage finish into Pantani's hometown. But I suppose, although Jalabert's got the pink jersey now, they ought to give Pantani a pink hat to wear, because they're equal on time. It's just that a few hundredths of a second that separate those two riders, and they're going to be locked in mortal combat and for the next couple of weeks to see who rides into Milan in the pink jersey. Pantani was right to say this man was a threat. He's already been in pink jersey, he lost it and now he's got it back again. Jalabert was the Maleolosa from the stage into Montestorino. He's had it on his shoulders for the last 3 days. Then he lost it again yesterday to Pantani. Now he's got it back again. A moment of happiness for Jalabert. But as far as Pantani is concerned, I'm sure disappointment to see that jersey has gone over his shoulder. There again, of course, his team won't have to defend it. It's up to Once now, the Once Deutsche Bank team, to defend that jersey of Jalabert, which will certainly, I think, make life a bit difficult for them. Other results, looking down the general classification, Sergei Hontar has now moved up into 4th spot. He was 13th overall. Alex Zuller, a damn good ride there too. He's now 8th overall. He was 15th. He's moved up into 8th spot, now 2 minutes and 4 seconds down on Laurent Jalabert. Marco Pantani equal with Jalabert, but there's still be some battles to go on. One disappointing ride today was that of Jimenez. Lost over 2 minutes on Pantani when he got caught. He's now dropped from 2nd spot, Jimenez, into 11th at 2 minutes and 39 seconds. He was 38 seconds down on Pantani here, who did a superb ride. Jimenez must be ruining the fact he got caught by Pantani, but Pantani must be wondering whether he started too fast, because we see here going through the halfway point, Pantani at that particular time check against Jalabert, just 1 second adrift of Jalabert, but on the way back in towards the finish, Jalabert pulled back some more, 54 seconds, despite the cheering and the plaudits of the crowd along the way. He had all the time checks. He knew what he had to do, Pantani, and certainly I think he was right to reckon that Jalabert would be a threat, because Jalabert, an ex-time trial champion of the world, this was his territory, and so Pantani in the end lost that jersey by that Nat's whisker. Well, looking on further down the overall classification, it's forming into quite a useful shape now. There we are, you can see on your screens where it is, with that good ride by Zuller pulling up into 8th spot. Kamazin happy, I think, to stay there up in the top 10. Gotti still threatening. Conchar, that's a surprise. He's done very well so far. Not the world's greatest climber, but I think somehow he's managed to stay in with a shout. And further on down, as I say, Jimenez dropped to 11th overall. De Luca, who was second at one stage during this race, has now dropped to 13th place overall. So once again, there's been a mix and match day when situation has changed, and I think it could go on like that in the days to come. So whilst the riders will be happy now to think they've got 2 stages back on the road with no big mountain climbs ahead of them, as far as Jalabert is concerned, the joy and the glory of the pink jersey is his yet again. He said he came to this race to do 2 things. One was to win a stage and won't take the pink jersey. Well, he's now won 2 stages and he's got the pink jersey back again.